This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fan Report, where it's by fans, for fans. We're on episode number 124, and Andrew's here with me to lead you into the week. So, Andrew, take it away.
Lions week 1 just happened. I don't know what it was, but it just happened. We'll talk about it. And the Pistons may be taking on some more money somehow. I don't know. We'll talk about it. It's a fan report.
I'm very curious how they plan on taking on more money here. They don't exactly have a ton of it. No, that's what I mean. Like they don't exactly have a ton of free money, and it does scare me a little bit if they're going to try to stretch this or push it back. If it, there's no guarantees here. Let's not jump ahead too far. I hope everybody had a good weekend. We got not only football back, but Lions football back as well. We're already into the college season, which is exciting enough. But now we've got full weekends of football. Not just Saturdays. We have both Saturdays and Sundays, but also Thursdays and Mondays.
Football season is in full effect. Hey, did you see the Monday night game between the Raiders and the Ravens?
Bits and pieces. What I saw was wild. Like it was a wild game.
It was like if the Lions played the Lions. Like I was watching with our buddy Alex, and I was like, I feel like the Raiders are just the Lions in Raiders uniforms right now. And Alex goes, I was going to say that about the Ravens. I'm like, well, I mean, it is Lions playing the Lions right now. Neither team wants to win.
No, it got kind of interesting. Obviously, both teams made mistakes here and there. Did you see the video where Marlon Humphrey actually intercepted a pass but didn't know it?
Nope.
So there's a play.
I'll be honest, I was extremely bored for the first 3 quarters of that game, and I was barely paying attention.
Well, this video has made its rounds all over Twitter today. There was a play where Marlon Humphrey broke up a pass, but came out with the ball and then dropped the ball in celebration. But apparently, in the breakup he somehow managed to catch the ball off of the back of the receiver before it hit the ground, but didn't know it didn't hit the ground, so he intercepted the pass, stood up, was cheering that he broke the pass up, and just threw the ball on the ground.
Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen someone get an interception and not realize
by
that they
accident,
got an interception.
And then not even realize it? Yeah, that was different. Obviously, we want to start off with the Lions today. That's going to be the bulk of the show this week. There's a lot to talk about there, a lot of talking points to kind of get through, and a lot of things to kind of look that have a lot of impact on the future of this team, not just this year, but even for a couple of years to come, if not a little bit longer. So wanted to kind of kick things off there. But before we do that, Andrew, how was your weekend?
I golfed.
I also golfed.
Short and sweet. We were both at a golf outing this weekend and played 72 holes of golf in 3 days. There was a lot of golf and a lot of drinking.
Well, I mean, that's what that weekend's all about. It's a yearly golf outing that we go to with some family and family friends, and it's up north Michigan, so it's up north. Good golf weather, good environment, nice courses, and not a lot of good golf, but a lot of fun golf and a lot of consumption of alcohol.
I mean, least. We consumed so much alcohol Friday night that I was still drunk on the first tee box on Saturday morning.
You know what? That's an excellent feat, might I add.
And let me tell you, having a hangover set in halfway through a round of 18 is not a fun place to be.
I was going to say, that doesn't exactly sound pleasant. That kind of sounds like it would take the fun out of the first round of 18. And
kind of did.
But the second round, you woke up a little bit, if I remember right. So that helps. But it was a fun weekend. And, I'm already looking forward to next year. So.
Oh, yeah.
Lions played a football game this weekend. It was a pretty ugly football game, might I add.
Don't be fooled by the box score. It wasn't that close.
Don't be fooled by the final score. It was not a close game at all. Like, it was close in the last minute because the 49ers basically fell asleep. They allowed an onside kick.
Well, they had the game in the bag. They didn't care.
I know.
Lions needed nothing short of a miracle on top of another miracle to win this football game with 2 minutes up in the fourth quarter.
Garoppolo had his dinner plans in mind already. Mm-hmm. It took a recovered onside kick and a stupid fumble by a receiver for the Lions to even have a chance.
And they still would need to recover another onside kick, and they would have needed to score and get a 2-point conversion. So
they had a chance to tie it. They had a chance to tie it late in the game. They could have tied it if they had converted the 4th and 1 from the 25.
The fumble. The fumble was the ball back. Yeah, you're right.
Because they didn't get the second onside kick, but they did get the fumble back in the ensuing 49ers drive by Deebo Samuel. Mm-hmm. So it literally was a miracle on top of a miracle, and then they had to come through in Matthew Stafford-esque fashion in a minute-long fourth quarter drive to then put up a 2-point conversion to tie the game to go to overtime. It was a valiant effort. I'll give them that, but I really do think that some of the 49ers players were kind of checked out in that game.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
I don't really want to break it down too much just because I don't think it's really necessary.
Let me break it down for you. It's going to be a long season. There's your breakdown.
Perfectly said. I do have some questions for you in regards to certain players in the game.
Okay.
Jared Goff, were you at all encouraged by the way he played? Does he give you any does it give you any hope for him to be the guy?
It's exactly what I thought it was going to be. He's not throwing the ball downfield. His average yards per completion was 5.9. Okay, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's going to be a lot of T.J. Hawkinson, a lot of DeAndre Swift, a lot of Jamal Williams, and not much else.
In his defense, he doesn't exactly have anybody to throw the ball downfield to.
True.
I mean, but it's not like
he did in L.A. and he still didn't do it often. So.
It's not like, did he really have a ton of guys to throw the ball downfield to in LA?
Yeah, Cup in the Woods.
I guess I consider Woods to be a dink and dunk style player. Is he? I mean, he's a guy who catches a lot of screen passes and makes a lot of yards, a lot of yak. And Cup is more of that kind of mid-tier route type player. Like he doesn't have he never really had a Tyreek Hill. I guess he didn't he have Brandon Cooks for a while? Or am I thinking of Drew Brees? I think I'm thinking of Drew Brees.
No, I think Cooks and Goff overlapped in L.A.
I don't know. But either way, I kind of agree with you. Like I'm not really. If you look just straight at the numbers, they look pretty good. Like he threw 57 times, which is a lot. But again, they were down 31-10 at one point. Completed 38 balls for 338 yards and 3 touchdowns through a pick. Yeah. Those numbers.
A lot of that was in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter.
It was a stat padding type game. Yes, his numbers didn't look that great to begin with, and then late in the game he was able to put up big numbers because that's what happens when you get down by 21 points. Are you at all concerned with the carry split that we saw between Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, and also the effectiveness that Jamal Williams had that Swift did not? Are you at all concerned with Swift being the guy that they lean on?
I'm not, because I wasn't expecting too much from Swift in game one. I know we said he needed to get the ground game going, but you also have to remember that he is coming off an injury. So there was always a chance he was going to come out and
murder accusations.
And not be dominant, but he still had a nice game. I mean, 8 catches for 65 yards. He wasn't as effective on the ground, but through the air, he was nice. And he scored a touchdown. Jamal Williams, I'm even when Swift is healthy, I'm expecting Jamal Williams to have a nice chunk of the carries, because let's be honest, he was effective in Green Bay. He's an effective running back. So I do think it served us well to split that backfield. I don't want to say 50-50, but to have Jamal Williams take 8 to 10 carries a game. So I mean, I'm not too worried about it. I do think Swift will get better on the ground as the year goes on, as he gets his legs under him, because remember, he wasn't practicing a lot. So
I mean, I was a big believer that Jamal Williams was underutilized in Green Bay as it was. Mm-hmm. So to see, I do think I could see a potential for more of a 50-50 split between these two, because I think both guys have the ability to be effective. I think their ground games are comparable in terms of what they can do as of right now. I've always liked Jamal Williams. I think he's a better player than he was showcased in Green Bay. And both guys are very effective through the air, and that's going to help, free open that run game as well, because if you're able to be effective through the air in terms of a running back, that'll open up some lanes for you. That'll open up the draw play. That'll open up your a screen play. I know it's through the air, but it'll open up play action possibilities as well, and teams will have to look out for that. So I do think seeing Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift split carries, not necessarily 50-50 even, but like Swift getting 15, Jamal Williams getting 10 or 12. Like, I can definitely see a scenario like that playing out and it being effective. I do think that the ground game will hopefully be, I can't really say the strength of this offense, but it'll be the plus side of this offense, because I don't know what there's going to be a lot of strengths on the offense side of the ball for this team. TJ Hawkinson obviously continues to showcase that he is a good tight end in this league, and he's got a chance this year to put himself in the upper echelon of tight ends, put himself into that elite tier of tight ends. Do I think he makes the jump to Kelsey Kittle range? No. I think he's going to be in that next tier below them, but he's still going to be in the upper end of that tier. So, like I said before, I think he finished the top 5 tight end this year. That's very possible. And honestly, at this point, I would consider it likely, considering he is the best pass catcher this team has. That's not a running back. And that really, honestly, really showed in this game as well. The top 3 guys who were targeted in this game were Hawkinson, Swift, and Williams. You had to go through 2 running backs and a tight end to see another guy targeted, to see another guy that was targeted anywhere even close. Cephas saw 7 targets. There were 38 catches in this game. Only 13 of them were to wide receivers. Exactly. So Cephas saw 7, and then Benson saw 6. So those were your top 2 receiving targets in this game. And in all reality, Cephas was not very effective in that regard. He caught 3 of those 7 passes for 12 yards and a touchdown. Benson caught only 3 of the 6 for 19 yards. You're the only receiver who had more than 25 yards was Khalif Raymond, and he caught a 25-yard pass. So that kind of tells you how little this team has at the wide receiver position. And Tyler Williams also, I believe, I heard that he suffered a head injury in this game. Yep. He's in the concussion protocol, so we might be down another receiver, so we might actually be starting Amon-Ra St. Brown and Quintez Cephas as our starting wide receivers next week. Speaking of Amon-Ra St. Brown, were you all encouraged by his play, or did you kind of say, yikes? Neither nor, I guess. There was nothing there that really discouraged me, and then there was nothing there that made me say, wow, it was a rookie wide receiver who looked like a rookie wide receiver. Being completely honest, I don't want to play it up for the podcast. I took 0 things away from him in St. Brown's game. I also really didn't take much away. He only caught 2 balls, only saw 4 targets, which you could argue that based on the fact that you have no takeaways of him in this game is a little bit of a worry. But again, it's week 1. Give him a chance to get his legs. It's his first game. Right. Give him a chance to get his legs underneath him and make some strides in this offense. I'm not expecting much from any wide receiver on this team with Jared Goff under center. I'm just being honest. I'm not necessarily going to agree with that take. I mean, you look at what Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp were able to do in LA. We don't have Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp. I understand that, but it's not like we're talking about 2 guys that are, top 10 receivers here. Like, in terms of the draft, they weren't taken top 10 overall. Like, they developed these guys and made their way to be good receivers. So it's not that receivers can't be good with Jared Goff at the quarterback position, because it's shown that it can be. There, you had 2 good receivers there, and even honestly, they had a few other receivers there that showed that made impacts as well beyond Kupp and Woods there. So. To say a receiver can't really make an impact or be effective in this offense because Goff's there, I can't really agree with that. If a receiver's good enough, he's going to make an impact regardless of who is at the quarterback position. I didn't say they can't be effective. I say I don't have expectations for these receivers. I'm not going to be disappointed in anything that happens to these receivers this season because I don't have high expectations. I didn't say they can't be good. I just don't
have high expectations for him. They're not. We're talking about a rookie receiver and a second-year receiver, and we're talking about a quarterback that doesn't throw downfield. That's what I'm saying.
I do have expectations for these receivers. Are they high? No, I don't expect anybody to hit 1,000 yards. I'd be happy if I saw a 700-yard receiver on this team this year, or even an 800-yard receiver. Like that would be great. But if Amon-Ra St. Brown comes out and only puts up 300 yards on the season, yeah, I'm going to be disappointed. Like that's a straight up disappointment at that point, and it'll have to do with him as well as Jared Goff. And if Tyrell Williams, granted, if he's healthy and plays, 15 games this year, if he doesn't put up 700-800 yards, yeah, I'm going to be disappointed. Like that's our number one. And same with Quintez Cephas. If he doesn't come out and put up 500-600
if any
yards,
starting receiver only puts up 300 yards, it's disappointing no matter what team you're on.
That's my point. Like I have expectations for these receivers. I'm not expecting them to hit 1,000 yards, but I am expecting one of the top 2 receivers to be in the 800-yard conversation. I am expecting a guy like Quintez Cephas to be an effective red zone wide receiver, catch 5, 6, maybe 7 touchdowns this year. I am expecting him to hit at least 500-600 yards as well. Like I do have expectations for these receivers, and if they don't hit those marks, I am going to be disappointed. And then I am going to be worried about the young receiving group that we have on this roster, because that may tell me that we just don't have it. Like these guys aren't what we can help add to something in the future. Like if Amon-Ra St. Brown comes out and puts up 300 yards, he's not part of the future. And that's a disappointment because that's another wasted pick for this team. So that are my expectations high and unfair? No, they're not. But I do at least have expectations for some of the receivers on this team. I do expect them to have a pulse.
Well, yeah, we're expecting anyone to have a pulse. I'll agree with you on that.
But before we switch on over to the defense here, I wanted to talk about one more guy on the offense and his play in this game. And that was a guy who we saw struggle a lot in the preseason after making a switch to his not natural position and moved him over to the left side, and that's Penei Sewell. He went back to his natural position because of the injury to Taylor Decker, who is now out for around a month because of the finger injury. So we got to see Penei Sewell move back to the left side, and Andrew, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how he played. Did you like the way he played? Were you encouraged by him at all?
Yeah. You let it. You blew the lead there. Yeah, that's why he looked comfortable. He contained Nick Bosa for the most part. Obviously, Nick Bosa going to get by him here and there, but he's going to get by anybody. But he did about as well as you can expect against Nick Bosa. I mean, even Bosa came out after the game and gave him props. He looked a lot more fluid. His feet looked good. I mean,
and confident.
Yeah, but what I liked the most was just the mentality that you saw post game. How he was kind of like critical of himself, even after he played a really good game in his first game as a rookie. He came out and said to me, "I have to win every rep. I have to get better in a couple things. My hands are out of whack. Pad level came in too high in a couple occasions." So, I mean, you don't really see that. Like, you don't really see a rookie be that technically critical about himself in his first game. But
It shows that he not only is capable of doing the right things, making the right moves on the field and the right decisions, but he's smart enough to understand when he doesn't and knows what he has to do to fix it. Like I feel like that's the type of player that isn't a rookie. That's the type of player that has 2, 3, 4 years in the league already and has learned what they need to do and learn how to play NFL football and knows what they need to fix week in and week out to get better and continue to get better and not make the same mistake going into next week. That's not a rookie mentality. That's the mentality of a young veteran. And Penei Sewell, as I mentioned, looked comfortable and confident in that left tackle position. Mm-hmm. And I don't care who the left tackle is, Nick Bosa is going to get by you a time or two.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Penei Sewell held him at check. And from what I saw, he showed why he was taken in the top 10 in this draft, why the Lions picked him. He showed the monster and the man that he truly is at that left tackle position. And yeah, we had some worries after watching him in preseason struggle at the right side, but he literally hit it in stride. And it was like he didn't miss all of last year due to sitting out for COVID to get ready for the draft, because he didn't miss a step there. He was technically sound. He was making the right, he was dropping the foot when he needs to. He's making the right, his footwork was good. His athleticism was there. His hands were good. Like, he looked like a left tackle that has been in the league for a few years. And that right there was encouraging to me, but also it worries me in a good way, because now I don't know what the Lions can do when Taylor Decker comes back.
That was
because Penei Sewell was that good. And yes, I understand Taylor Decker makes a ton of money, and he's earned that money. And Taylor Decker is probably one of the 10, 15 best left tackles in this league. So there's a lot to consider there as well.
Yeah, that was going to be my question for you is when Taylor Decker comes back, would you like to see Penei Sewell stay at left tackle, or do you think those added NFL reps would actually help? I say at left tackle, I think those added NFL reps would help him move to right tackle and actually be a little more effective than what he looked like in the preseason.
Now, here's how I'm going to look at it. I am not, if the Lions were a team that was winning now and we're going for a Super Bowl now, I would not be moving him back to right tackle. Mm-hmm. I would be keeping Penei Sewell at left tackle, moving Taylor Decker either to right tackle or to left guard, and then taking Jonah Jackson to the right side, because it's easier for a left guard to move to right guard than a left tackle to move to right tackle. And then maybe someone like Matt Nelson at right tackle, or if Vaitai can make an impact there, one of those two guys playing right tackle. Because Vaitai doesn't exactly look good either, so that would take away that problem. So if the Lions were winning now, that would be what I would do. However, because the Lions are not ready to win now, they're not competing, and we're trying to build this thing for the future, I am going to move Penei Sewell back to right tackle, because that is probably the best scenario for the future of this offensive line.
Let him get some reps there and get used to it.
Well, not just that, but building it the way that it's intended to be built. Left tackle is Taylor Decker. Left guard is Jonah Jackson. Center is Frank Ragnow. And then your right tackle is Penei Sewell. That's the way it's intended to be built, and that's the way it can be the most effective for the future of this franchise.
Well, what I was going to say is, just because it's intended to be built that way does not necessarily mean that is the most effective way, because for all we know, Penei Sewell may never be good at
and you may be right. And if that's the case, then you'll have to take it when you are ready to win and he's not there where we need him to be, then that conversation arises. But the thing is the Lions have the time right now to figure that out. They don't need to make a rash decision and move other players out of their positions. They have time to figure this thing out here. Give Penei Sewell a couple of years on the right side. See if he can pick it up and be as effective as he is on the left. See if he can be the monster that he is on the other side. And that's the luxury the Lions have right now, is they have time to try to get this right. And if after a year and a half, or 2 years he can't figure it out, well, then you may have the conversation of, okay, what do we need to do to make Penei Sewell comfortable, to make him effective, and to make Taylor Decker happy and effective as well? And also the rest of this offensive line. How do we make this offensive line better? What do we need to shift around? But until then, it doesn't hurt this team to at least try to build this the way it was intended to. Because the way it was intended to is probably is option number one and is plan A. And you always want your plan A to work. And you're going to give they need to give every shot to plan A to make it work. Because they're not in a rush right now. Yeah. So that's in my opinion the best way for them to to do this moving forward. And the thing is with Penei Sewell having effective and very positive reps on the left side in his natural position, it's building his confidence. It's helping him get the speed of the game, the mindset of an NFL game, and the flow there. It's allowing. That's
why I said it could help him at right tackle, just in terms of getting used to the speed of the game, getting his feet under him, getting that confidence,
and being able to see the type of moves that he's going to be facing week in and week out, the type of strength, the type of power, the speed, as you mentioned, like it allows him to adjust to the NFL game. I know it's not in terms of technique. It's obviously not the same, but he's a good and smart enough player where he can flip-flop things. I truly believe that. And he's building the confidence that, hey, I am effective enough for this league. I am strong enough to hold this down. I am good enough. And taking that confidence that he's gaining in the next 4 weeks from the left side or 6 weeks, whatever it is, from the left side and switching it over to the right, that may help him long-term. Mm-hmm. And he may be able to pick it up after that. So I think these reps are very valuable for him on the left side. And then when it's time to move him back to the right side, I think he'll be better for it. So I absolutely think he can come back and be effective.
Yeah. Do you have any other players you want to focus on before I take it more high level?
Well, not on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively speaking, I do. A couple of guys in particular that I wanted to look at.
You want to talk about how the secondary got burned for nearly 200 yards by Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, we can group them all together. Primarily Jeff Okudah is the name I want to bring up, but we'll throw the whole secondary together and how that 49ers wide receiving group was able to just obliterate them. I mean, think about it this way.
They didn't even have the number one wide receiver. They threw him out as like a decoy for a few plays, and that's it.
Jimmy Garoppolo didn't even throw half as many passes as Jared Goff did. Mm-hmm. He had 24 fewer yards. He threw for 314 yards in 25 passes.
I mean, his average yards per completion was more than double that of Jared Goff's.
And that's ridiculous. Like, there's no that tells you how bad the secondary was getting burnt. Like, you can't even really blame the defensive line at that point, because if your secondary is that bad, there's nothing the defensive line could have done. Nothing.
Yeah.
And we saw Jeff Okudah once again get absolutely torched. Torched. And he just looked terrible in this game once again. And then he goes out and, goes down with the Achilles injury and ruptures the Achilles. So he's out for the next full year, if not more. My question to you is, does Jeff Okudah have a future with this franchise anymore? Or is he done and the number 3 overall pick from 2 years ago is a bust?
Well, there's two sides of this in my head. There's a side that you have a guy who came in his rookie season to an already kind of doomed coaching staff and front office, and I felt like if I wanted to give him a full second chance this year and kind of throw away what we saw last year. But in the preseason and in the parts of this game that he did play, he looked like he didn't know how to play football. So, like, there's nothing that I've seen so far that encourages me. There's nothing that I've seen so far that makes you say, yeah, I think there's some bright spots here that we can build on. We're talking about a cornerback who can't keep up with any wide receiver that he's faced.
I'm gonna take it even a little step further from you. There is, not only have I seen anything that can make me believe this guy can be a shutdown corner in this league, but I haven't even seen as much as any growth from him. And I know he hasn't played in many games over the last couple of years, but he practiced in the offseason this year. He had preseason. He had training camp. And we still have seen zero growth. And we're not going to get to see it again for the next year, because he's going to be out until at least probably week 1 or 2 next year, probably week 4 or 5, with the way the Achilles takes to heal. And frankly speaking, if he was already having problems keeping up with his man now,
you don't get better after an Achilles injury.
Oh, no. And you certainly don't get any faster. And it's not like this guy ran as, like, he ran, didn't he run like a 4.4, 4.5 40?
I do not know what his 40 time was.
Like, I don't recall him being slow in the combine. Let's just put it that way. So how was he not?
Yeah, they're on a 4.48.
Like, that's not slow. Sure, it's not Tyreek Hill, looking like a cheetah out there running, 4.39 or 4.41, whatever it was. Like, sure, he's not that fast. But 4.48 is pretty damn fast.
You should still be able to keep up speed-wise with most receivers.
So it tells me right there that, like, he's doing something wrong, and that does kind of make me believe that it's because it's not just the fact that he's unathletic and unable to keep up. He is able to. He just doesn't have the right technique, and technique can be coached. However, when you tear an Achilles, you ain't coming back that fast.
Yeah,
you're not going to be as fast as you were before the Achilles tear. So that tells me that he probably can't play cornerback in this league anymore. He won't be able to. So that begs the question is, when he comes back, do you take a look at him at safety? Because he is a good zone corner. He is a good zoned secondary player.
I wanted to see it this year before he got injured.
But that also then begs the question of, you spent a number 3 overall pick on this guy.
Oh, I'm already almost ready to call this pick a bust.
I think even if he comes back,
earlier than I've ever called a pick a bust, but I just don't see.
Even if he comes back and plays safety, even if he's good, this pick was a bust. You'd never take a safety in the top 5.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing. I don't care how good the dude is. it's a safety. It's not, I frankly am in the belief you don't take corner in the top 5 either, but that's a different argument. For him to have to move his positions, that right there is just, that's not good. That's terrible.
It wasn't just a secondary either. I mean, the front 7 got burned for 100 yards by a 6th-round rookie running back.
I have heard a lot of good things about Elijah Mitchell. I have heard a lot of good things about him,
but it's a running back who's playing his first game in the NFL. I don't think you should let him go for 100 yards.
No, absolutely not. But again,
I've heard good things about Najee Harris. Najee Harris only ran for 40 yards.
Right, but to give the front 7 a little bit of a break here, the 49ers rushing game is very good. It was last year, and it will continue to be good. And it didn't matter which running back they had in last year either. They had several different running backs in last year that were effective. So, Jeff Wilson was running for 150 yards in games. He ain't even on the roster anymore. So, that tells you how good the running game is for the 49ers. And the Steelers, on the other hand, haven't had a good running game since Lev Bell was there. So, that'll tell you. Because James Conner was effective, but he was more of a kind of dual threat back than he was just a pure running back. And in the pure running back spot...
So was Najee, but...
Yeah, but James Conner wasn't very effective on the ground alone. And
I do think the Steelers are facing one of the better front 7s in the league, but
also I'll agree with that. I'm not saying that the front 7 was good. I'm not saying that I expect them to be good, but I'm going to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because they were facing one of the better rushing attacks in this league. But
it's not letting him off the hook, though. You still let a 6th-round rookie run for 100 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, though, when it's the 49ers, it doesn't matter who's back there. You could put me back there. I'll probably still torch somebody for 75 yards. That's just how good that running game is.
God, I wish we had a siren on this show.
Please, feel free. Another guy I wanted to bring up because he was a guy who really put his name on the map in the preseason for the Lions defense, and that's Derek Barnes. He wasn't really as effective as I would have liked to see out of him. I mean, he only had the one tackle this week.
Didn't even notice him this game.
Exactly.
So.
And he's a guy I was really looking forward to see being all over the field, involved in every play that he can possibly be. And it just wasn't. When it is just his first game, I'll give him a break in that regard. But I do want him to kind of step up and be more of a leader on the defense and make an impact. For that front 7 there in the linebacker spot. So I hope to see Derek Barnes kind of take a step up a little bit.
All right, let me take this a little more high level here. Overall takeaway on this game. Has your opinion of the Lions risen or fallen? Are you giving brownie points for the heart that they showed in the last 4 minutes of the game to come back? Or are you saying, no, this team looked god-awful for 3 3/4 of a game?
So let me preface everything I'm going to say by saying, and I'm going to tell all Detroit fans out there, don't be fooled by this comeback. The Niners were checked out. They allowed you back in this game. That's number one. Number two, my opinion really hasn't changed. I expected this team to be a team that doesn't give up, a team that constantly wants to fight no matter what the scoreboard says or whatever. That's just the nature of a high-energy coach like Dan Campbell. But they're also just not very good. And that opinion hasn't changed in any way. This team
it's going to be more confidence in my 3-win prediction.
Right. I don't think this team's going to win more than 3-4 football games this year. And in those games, they probably will show a lot of mistakes, but the other team will make more mistakes than they will. Again, this is not a good football team. I've never believed they were a good football team. They show a lot of heart. I expected that. They show a little bit of tenacity. I expected that. But heart and tenacity don't always make up for a lack of talent when it's an extreme lack of talent. And that's the case with the Lions this year. They have an extreme lack of talent on both sides of the football. And in this league, that's not a recipe for success. It doesn't matter how much heart or tenacity you have. Because you're not going to win a ton of football games without a ton of talent on your roster, and they just don't have it. So my opinion didn't really change. I'm not, I'm not enamored and falling in love with, the comeback, they almost made it happen. It was a fake comeback. It wasn't real. The Niners let it happen. I don't believe that this team is going to 33 points, maybe one of the highest scoring games that the Lions put up all season long. in all reality. And they scored 23 of those in the second half, and it was because the 49ers straight up said, all right, what's dinner going to do? Where are we going for dinner?
Are you at all excited that we are now first in the NFC North?
No, because the North looked absolutely putrid, and the Packers are about to drop a bomb on the Lions on Monday night.
Oh my God, it's gonna be TVMA television.
Because I have a feeling Rodgers.
They cannot air that game uncensored. There's got to be some.
I have a feeling Rodgers is going to come in pissed, and it ain't going to be pretty. Why is this game on Monday night? Can someone explain that to me? Like, why is this a nationally televised game? It looks, in all reality, it looks even worse now than it did when they originally posted the schedule because of how bad Green Bay looked. And then you have the Lions, who were never going to look good regardless.
So I think the Lions are what, plus 11 going into that game?
Yeah, they're getting 11 points going into this game.
Are you taking the points?
No, I'm not.
Me neither. I'm terrified.
I know there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, you got to look at the Lions with the points. 11 points, a lot of points, and the Packers look terrible. I fully expect Aaron Rodgers to come out and just drop his nuts right on the Lions' face.
Yep.
Like, if the dude wants to throw 400 yards, he'll throw 400 yards. If he wants to rush for 100 himself, he probably will. If he wants to throw 7 touchdowns, he will. Like, the Lions don't have anyone to cover Devontae Adams. That's for damn sure. They ain't stopping Aaron Jones. That's also for damn sure.
It is going to get ugly.
It's going to be an ugly game. And you know damn well Rodgers coming in pissed. There's no way he's going to get embarrassed on Monday Night Football by the Detroit Lions. No way in hell is that going to happen.
I mean, he already looked embarrassed enough after our last game.
Exactly.
Who is going to be guarding Devontae Adams? You think they're going to move up AJ Parker, or is it going to be Ifeatu Melifonwu or Awarie? What?
I think without a doubt there will always be 2 men on Devontae Adams, not Devontae Parker, Devontae Adams. There will always be some type of bracket coverage on him because, frankly, they have to. They don't have a singular guy that they can put on Devontae Adams and have him just be alone there. They have to bracket cover Devontae Adams if they're going to stop him from putting 300 yards on them. That's the only way it happens. And he still probably puts up 150.
Yeah, I like.
So I think it'll end up being like whatever side he's on, that's the corner that takes him, and the safety's going to give him some help, or the linebacker's going to give him some help.
That's the thing. So Melifonu's taken over the right side for Okudah, according to the depth chart, at least, which would tell me he's probably going to be the one getting paired against Devontae Adams, but then do you really want a rookie corner on Devontae Adams?
Well, I mean, in all reality, the Green Bay is a team that likes to move Devontae Adams around anyway, so I expect to see him on both sides. I do expect to see Melifonwu on him more because I think Devontae Adams and that offense will want to
try to take
advantage of the fact that he's going up against a rookie in his second game. And that matchup is going to be absolutely juicy for Devontae Adams, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So I fully expect to see...
I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch this game. It's going to be torture.
It's if you're into torture porn, this might be one for you.
If you hate yourself, tune in Monday night.
It ain't going to be pretty. And I know, and hey, maybe the Lions make us eat our words. Maybe they do. But I would be absolutely shocked if it happened.
If the Lions come out on Monday night and win this football game, I'm trying to think of what I will do. I won't do that. I was going to say I'll eat raw beef on air.
So let me ask you this question. After what we saw from the Lions this week and what we're seeing, like how we're seeing the talent level of this roster and what we saw the Houston Texans do this past week, are the Lions now the 32nd? Are the Lions now the worst team in the NFL? Because Houston showed a little bit of tenacity and talent there even.
Yeah, there was no team I saw on like, all right, Atlanta kind of gave us a run for our money. I'll be honest with you, but I don't expect it to be that bad.
They did.
Jacksonville kind of gave us a run for our money, but they didn't have all their personnel as well. So I'm going, if we're not worst, we're certainly in strong contention for worst. I'm going to go with one of the worst team in the NFL at this point.
I'm going to agree with you. Tyrod Taylor has just proved why he's been in the league as long as he has, and also why he is the guy with the worst luck in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, he looked good. He was a good quarterback, and it's not like there's a ton of talent on that team that would help him. Like David Johnson hasn't been good since basically Nam in football years, and Mark Ingram's about 100 in running back years now. So
this is why I've been struggling to get excited for the season, because I just had that feeling we're going to walk in each week and just get smacked every time, and like the 3 wins we get are just going to be us catching teams off guard. That's it.
The 3 wins we get is not necessarily going to be teams catching teams off guard. It's going to be the other team just makes more mistakes than we do. And that's how the Lions will win a couple of football games this year, is because the other team makes more mistakes. And that's going to happen. You're not perfect week in and week out. That's just how it is. And the Lions will be able to, fortunately, if you depending on which side you're on, win a couple of those games. Like it's just a fact of life in the NFL. And last week, I tried to sell you on why you should be excited about this season, and I'll be straight up with you. It was difficult. Like, I more easily could take one side of an argument that I actually believe in, sell it to you, and then flip-flop to the other side and sell you on that as well. Then I would have an easier time doing that. You know I've done that. Pretty sure I've done it on this show.
I've made you on the live show where I made you take both sides of the argument before. And
I can do it effectively. Like I can more easily do that than I could sell you on why to get excited about this team this year, because like I struggled with it because there's just not a ton to be excited about, and even less so now because Jeff Okudah, we don't even get to see any improvement. We don't even get to see growth there or see him give us a reason why he was taken number 3 overall. He's done. Like, he is straight up done. Maybe even forever with this team. And so now what do we have to look forward to? Penei Sewell being effective? Sweet. All right, there's one. Next. Bueller. Like, nothing.
Wait, so what was your answer to my question?
What was your question?
About what's your major takeaway? I forgot what your answer was.
Oh, my expectations, like my thoughts on this team have not changed from what they were. Like,
that's okay.
I think it was a fake comeback. I don't believe this team is, like, they just have a lack of talent, and it's glaringly obvious. And I knew that going in.
It'll make it'll make it even worse if the Niners come out next week and actually look terrible.
I'll be honest with you. I think the Niners are a very good football team. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's a team going to compete in the NFC West. I think they're going to be a tough team to beat this year.
They already lost their entire running back group, but what's new? I feel like they do that every year.
Every single year. They're going to lose about 3 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and probably 1 or 2 receivers throughout the entire year. Like, that's just the nature of that offense. I don't know what it is. Maybe they're
already down their top receiver and like their top 3 running backs. So.
Right. Like, that is the worst training conditioning coach in the entire NFL. I don't know what it is. But now, Andrew, before we switch over to the Pistons real quick.
Yeah.
Is Jeff Okudah the biggest draft bust in Lions history? Can you put him up there with the Darko Milicics, with the Charles Rogers? I know, but can you put him up there with Charles Rogers in terms? Like, I absolutely, if he never plays another down for the Lions again, I absolutely would compare him to Charles Rogers. And honestly, I'd say it's worse than Charles Rogers because Rogers actually, did something. Like, he scored a couple of times. Like,
he was halfway decent. He just couldn't stay on the field.
Right. And injuries ended his career.
Couldn't get off the weed. R.I.P. We shouldn't be talking about that.
All right.
But I remember I was so excited when we drafted him too.
Well, I mean, you're Michigan State.
That was that was the first Michigan State team I remember watching.
Yeah, kind of. A little bit.
But no, yeah. I mean, it's you picked a cornerback 3rd overall, and he's done absolutely nothing. It doesn't get when you get 0 out of your 3rd overall pick. Yeah, that's gonna be by default one of the biggest busts in franchise history, if not the biggest bust in franchise history. Yeah,
now,
your biggest comparison is going to be guy Charles Rogers.
Let me ask you this: which one has a bigger impact on the course of this franchise, bigger impact on the future and the present and the future of this franchise, Eric Ebron or Jeff Okudah? And you got to factor everything in here, Because you know what was taken after Eric Ebron.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning right now. Despite the fact that Ebron was taken later, thus what we passed up on.
There's literally like 3 Hall of Famers after Eric Ebron.
Exactly, like that. That's why I'm leaning Ebron, despite the fact that he was taken 5-6 picks later. Yeah.
And I mean, Jeff Okudah, like there could be some guys behind him that are very effective as well. I mean, you look at the way Justin Herbert has been, dude's a stud. So, and that could have potentially launched a rebuild had you taken him.
But the interesting thing with Ebron, like a lot of people here were calling for Tua. Not many people. I didn't hear many people calling for Herbert. With Ebron, a lot of people were calling for Aaron Donald. A lot of people wanted Aaron Donald in that draft and were disappointed with Ebron. So like there was. So there's
Aaron
that.
Donald made sense because Sue wanted to leave, and you had a chance.
And even if he didn't leave, pairing Aaron Donald with Sue was real nice. Also,
oh god, that would be filthy. Like,
I mean, the Rams did it, didn't they?
They did. It didn't work out entirely.
Well,
but
you had to sue 5 years later when they did that. So,
well, I mean, Sue won a Super Bowl last year, and he was effective. So, but. Anyways, let's go ahead and anything else to add before we switch over to the Pistons real quick?
No, I mean, I agree with you in terms of the major takeaways. I don't get fooled by the final score. It was not that close, and it was actually fairly ugly. And that's kind of how the season's going to go for this team. Just try to find the silver linings in the very dark cloud that will be this season. Sorry to be ugly.
Well said. Switching over to the Pistons, a rumor is circling around. An interesting one that is kind of causes both to go, huh? Mm-hmm.
I think this was first reported by Mitch Lawrence of SiriusXM NBA, I believe.
The Houston Rockets are looking to trade John Wall, and the Pistons could be potential suitors. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, this one is very curious to us because, 1, how would they take on the money? 2, what would a package look like for John Wall for us to take him? And now the Rockets do feel like they got fleeced in the Harden trade, so they supposedly are going to be careful with this one and get the best package in return they can get. But
probably they said, quote unquote, we have to win this trade.
I don't understand a circumstance where there's a team out there that wants to give things away, like actual assets away for John Wall. I don't anymore. Yeah. Like the dude hasn't been the John Wall from Washington in a long time.
Nope. Here's the thing. He's got 2 years left on his deal. The second year being a player option, but that player option is for $47 million. So I don't see a world where he doesn't take in that. So yeah, if you were to take on John Wall, you're taking on $44 million this year, $47 million next year. I don't know how I could barely figure out how you fit DeAndre Jordan's contract onto this team. I don't know where you're getting the money to get to bring in John Wall. The only way
they're going to pay luxury tax for a 30-win team.
The only way that I'm going to even entertain this idea is if Houston's giving us unprotected draft picks, because there's no other reason for us to take John Wall. There's no reason for it. You have to give me draft picks, or else I'm not even picking up the phone. But reportedly, the Pistons have made offers. I don't know if they're like, yeah, we'll take on John Wall if you give us your unprotected first from this year and from 2024. Like,
and in that regard, how can they argue that they won that trade? Like the Rockets are in a state of total rebuild. Like they need young talent on that team more.
Let's put it this way:
Jalen Green, Christian Wood.
There's no way the Rockets win this trade.
No, and that's what I was just saying. Like, I don't see a scenario where teams are giving actual assets to the Rockets for John Wall. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I don't know of a single team that would be willingly giving up their unprotected or even protected first-round pick to bring in John Wall or a young asset. Like, I just...
There's no way they get rid of him without giving up draft picks, and there's no way they win this trade if they're giving up draft picks. So there's no way they win this trade.
Exactly. So I don't know what the Rockets are thinking here. I mean, I know they want to get rid of John Wall and his salary because he's not a part of the future of that franchise. He doesn't make sense there. But
if I'm a Rockets fan, I'm holding on my draft picks. I'm like, we're just going to have to deal with it.
You're not going to win over the next 2 years anyways. You just sit on the money, you deal with it, and you just, you just deal with it. You have him be coming off the bench for $45 million behind Jalen Green. It is what it is. It sucks.
But
you're not winning anyways.
If you got the Rockets 2022 and 2024 first, would you be doing this deal?
No.
Still no. Wow. Okay. You know the Rockets are probably going to suck this year.
Yes, those picks are attractive, but it hinders our ability to bring in a guy to complete this roster. It hinders the growth of guys like Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham, because you add another point guard to the mix in this backcourt, like a John Wall, and unless you plan on buying him, John, well, let me start over. Only if we're going to buy out John Wall, because
I think we would.
If that's the case, then sure. Like, I'll do it then. But I don't want to see John Wall play a single minute in a Pistons uniform if that's the case.
Yeah.
Like, he would stunt the growth of guys like Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes, because he's taking minutes away from those guys. And at least Cade is the future of this franchise. So I don't want anything taken away from him right now. I want him to hit the ground running and get as much thrown at him as possible right away, so he can learn and build and grow. And same with Killian Hayes. He needs to get back up to speed and get ready to go. So John Wall coming in and taking minutes away from him, that ain't going to help him. So if we buy out John Wall, I'll take 2 first-round picks to do that, sure. But otherwise, I don't see a point. And frankly, what the hell would we have to give them money-wise to even be able to do this? Yeah. So I mean,
like the only way this makes sense for me, like, judging from the DeAndre Jordan trade, it's already looking like they're targeting, and then the free list that we went over, it's starting to really look like that 2023 offseason is what this front office is targeting. So this point is going to be off the books before then, regardless, unless they stretched it.
However, I was going to say that I don't think you can get a buyout done without stretching it because of the amount of money on the books next year. Yeah. I don't think it's possible to not stretch
I am not a salary cap expert, so I'm not
I think no matter what, you'd have to stretch it beyond the 2 years that he's got there. So
I would have told you we couldn't afford DeAndre Jordan, and we somehow did that. So,
right.
But so I'm not too worried in terms of hindering our ability to bring in big names, because it's starting to look like our plan isn't to bring in a big guy until 2023 anyways. I'm more so, like you said, worried about if we brought him in and didn't buy him out and took minutes away from the young guys. And I'm also worried about if we brought him in and didn't get multiple firsts for doing that. So
that would be, if that happens, that would be like, all right, Troy Weaver, go. Get out.
Why do we keep taking on these contracts?
Like, I don't see John Wall make sense in all reality. Like, you get 2 more first-round picks, but, I mean, we've been saying since we got Cade Cunningham that I'm done with all of these first round picks. Like I'm ready to start winning. So
but we can get first round picks while winning. Like that,
and I understand that, and that's possible. Like, that is possible. That would be a scenario. But again, we got to make the money work somehow. And frankly, I think the only way you'd be able to buy out John Wall is to stretch it for several years. And if that's the case, you're hindering your chance to complete this team.
Yeah.
So I don't love that scenario either. So it just doesn't make sense to me for them to do this. And I like the argument that a lot of people had of us trading the number 1 overall pick is to get multiple draft picks for years to come. Like, I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be picking at the top of the draft anymore. Like, I don't
mind picking the top of the draft as long as it's not our pick. That's what I'm saying. Fair,
right. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here is, like, I don't want to keep adding new young talent to this roster and hoping it sticks. Like, hope that be the building block of the franchise. 1, you need a veteran leader at some point.
Yeah.
2, at some point we have to just start winning and continuing to take top end draft picks that take a little bit of time to get working, and you're trying to force them into the lineup to be able to get their legs growing, and like forcing a young guy into the lineup that isn't ready to play winning basketball is never going to be winning you games. Like that's just a fact. So eventually we have to play guys that are already ready to win now. Sometimes there is a young talent like that, but most of the time there's not in this league.
So I think we're both in agreement of the one scenario where we would be okay with this happening. I'm going to go out on the limb here and say there's probably 99.9% chance this isn't going to happen.
Oh, I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, but just because I don't see any way this trade gets done without the Rockets giving up way more than they're going to want to give up. So,
exactly.
And that's in general. Like, I don't see how this trade happens with any team.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Like, I don't see a single team that's willing to give up actual assets for John Wall. Like, the contract is abysmal. The player is not very good anymore, and he's a $45 to $50 million hole. Like, especially chemistry wise, like he's a problem in the locker room and has been for a while. So, unless you're willing to give me a lot in return to take him from you.
The other two teams that were probably interested were the Heat and the Clippers.
The Clippers make sense because they'll try to find a usage for him because they need a point guard. That's a team I could see potentially giving up some type of asset for him. They'll give up Reggie Jackson and Luke Kennard.
Oh, Jesus.
But outside of, like, I don't see the Heat really doing it. Doesn't really make sense. But the Clippers, I can see it because that just screams as a team that's going to take whatever they can talent-wise and try to win a championship. But the Pistons don't make any sense at all. Really
and even the Clippers have less. They have less cap room than we do. So,
yep. But that's a team I think that would be willing to go into the luxury tax to try to win.
Oh, they're well in. They're $30 million over the tax line currently.
Jesus. Well, at that point, what's $70 million at that point?
According to the trade machine, we're $8 million over the cap. They're $56 million over the cap.
What's another
John
40,
Wall.
What's another 45 onto that?
Yeah.
Now, let's have a little bit of fun before we close out.
Okay.
In terms of making the salaries work, you work on a trade with the Clippers. I'll work on a trade with the Pistons here to try to make the salary work here.
While we do that, I don't know if you saw Aaron Gordon signed a 4-year, I think it's a $92 million extension with the Denver Nuggets.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Do you think that? I think they're really kicking themselves over losing out on Jeremy Grant because they could have been paying him 3 years, $60 million instead of 4 years, $92.
Oh, absolutely, they're kicking themselves over that. Like, no question about it. And frankly speaking, like I don't see how. Like, Aaron Gordon doesn't fit with that team in my mind. I don't think he does. He didn't really show effectiveness. I think he takes minutes away from Michael Porter Jr., who's proven to be a far better player at this point. I just don't think he fits in with the flow that roster has. So there's no reason in my mind that it was like I don't know why they would pay Aaron Gordon that much money to not really fit entirely with that team. Like, he didn't look good.
Yeah,
frankly. Let's just say there's not a lot of abilities for me to do this trade with the Pistons.
Nope.
I basically
have
have
to throw in Eric Bledsoe, Marcus Morris, even though I feel like the Rockets would have zero interest in Eric Bledsoe. They have enough shooting guards as it is.
So but I can't trade.
You're still $10 million short of matching John Wall's salary, even doing that.
I can't trade Kelly Olynyk because he just signed a contract.
Yeah.
I'm refusing to trade Bay, Stewart, Cade, and Jeremy Grant. Obviously.
Yes.
I'm willing to trade. I'm putting Josh Jackson, Killian Hayes. Like, I'm literally taking every other contract that has a dollar figure to it and putting in the trade. I can't get it done. Like, we're over the luxury tax. It won't work. Like, the Rockets would have to take on a lot of that salary. So there's no way the Pistons can get this done unless you give up Jeremy Grant, which God no, please no. So.
Yeah. I don't think the Clippers would go first at this point because you're including Keon Johnson, but if you included Keon Johnson's $2.5 million, that'd bring him close enough to make the trade successful, not be too far over the tax line. But there's no way the Clippers go up a rookie. No. They do have a trade exception they can use, so maybe they could just do the Marcus Morris.
They potentially could there.
Eric Bledsoe.
So I do have a trade that they can do.
The Clippers?
Yes. Eric Bledsoe, Luke Kennard, and Serge Ibaka. Luke Kennard and Serge Ibaka. That makes the trade successful.
I don't think.
Go ahead.
I don't think that the Rockets would have any interest in taking on Serge Ibaka because of the fact that he just drafted a rookie center, and they're invested pretty heavily in Christian Wood.
He's a 1-year deal. He's an expiring contract.
Okay.
So there would be the reason why they may. Almost $10 million expiring deal. Mm-hmm. So that could give them a reason to do it.
I love how our Pistons segment turned more into how can the Rockets get a deal done?
Well, the Pistons, unless something weird happens with the salary, it ain't happen with us. So
I just want to know what Troy, because they said they fielded offers from the Pistons, the Clippers, and the Heat. I just want to know, what did Troy Weaver offer? That's what I want to know.
Laundry detergent. And on that note, anything else to add?
No, that's if you guys have any speculation on what he offered, shoot us some messages on Twitter.
Do you think anything comes out about what the Pistons offered?
No.
I don't either, because I don't even think the offer's real. Anyways, that is the call for this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We will catch you next week. Follow us on Twitter at RealFanReport. Andrew, thank you for joining me, and thank you to Detroit Sports Podcast, as always. We will catch you guys next week after the Lions Monday night game. Mm-hmm. So, thank you guys again. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
We'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Enjoy your weeks. Peace out.
Peace.